Good afternoon. I wanted to talk you through a little bit of the things that are in Learning Array 4. I'll do a separate video for Learning Array 5 just so you have an opportunity to watch both of them separately and not get too confused. Going through here, obviously the EDP, you're going to work on that. That's pretty self-explanatory. The second part of this activity is looking at either a natural or a man-made event. There's a description for this activity, and we'll go down and look at that in just a second, but you're going to create a web page for that. We have some examples from previous semesters, but we're actually allowing things to be a little different this time and encouraging you, if you want, to use the current event that you chose for a previous learning array. We can talk through those individually, but I think it's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Then number 3 here, this is something that's kind of important. We wanted to share early. The focus of Learning Array 7 is for you to review a curricular guide. We've selected 2 of them that are nature-based, and there's some description as to why we chose nature-based in the narrative later on. But we wanted to give these to you now so you could look and decide which one you wanted to order and focus on for Learning Array 7. And then once you wrap up the things that you have in number 4, go ahead and go into number 5 and start working on that activity. I'm sorry for all the pop-ups. That's a little crazy. All right, so looking down here, EDP, these are all pretty self-explanatory. This I want to look at real quick for just a second with you. And if you have trouble trying to get into these, remember it needs to be your WESCA account. So you're constructing a web page based on a current event within the last decade. So this is kind of some suggestions on what your web page should include. What we have actually done, and as you keep going through here, the Haiti, Katrina, Army Corps, all of that, there's a rubric for what it's going to, how it's going to be graded. And it doesn't have to be turned in until the end of LA4. But what we want is for you to think about other ways that you can see STEM happening within your community. Okay? If you look at this sign-up sheet, it should be a little more clear. But what we've actually included here and what we've done in the past is have the student just select one of these topics and not have a connection to the past. What we're asking for is, in a previous learning array, I believe it was in 3, you selected a current event and you talked about the different ways that that current event was STEM focused. So what we're asking is build upon that current event, but look at it from another angle as well and include one of these ideas as the second side to that particular current event. There's some things that are extremely current, and there are some things that may be a little older, like the Malaysian Flight 370. But I think all of these are going to be somewhat relevant and connected, or if you have the possibility to connect to the current events that you've done before. So make sure you go in and select the second one that you're going to choose so that no one else gets it first. And we can track to see who has made changes to this. So try to be cognizant of who's signed up and not taking their spot. Okay, so just kind of looking through. Let's look. This is an interesting one. The measles epidemic. I don't remember when. I think this was in last fall's activity. May have been in previous semesters. But give us some background about what measles is. Where did this topic come from? What is the science behind it? What's the technology? These were made either for a science and technology course or for this STEM course in previous semesters. So there's some interesting activities that you could have your students do that represent how bacteria and germs are transported and transferred to other people. So you can also, I'm trying to remember one that was last year specifically, and we're going to go with the Texas flooding, because I do believe that was from this course. Oh, I told you a story. Either way, it does connect, and if you notice, there's justifications for why these were selected. Remember, you're connecting the science, the technology, the engineering, the math within a community, but you're also considering the EDP, the engineering design process. So a lot of these events could have been prevented with the proper technology, or they could have been lesser damage with the proper planning. So how is that going to come into play, and how are you going to share that for others? And kind of where we're going with this is you're eventually creating that EDP lesson. And that's what's happening, I believe, towards the end of this learning array, EDP lesson plan, but it's going to be taught in learning array 5. So we're giving you 3 weeks roughly to try and get those things completed. So quickly want to look at this over here on the side for the preview of learning array 7. Again, it's a link. Make sure it's your WESCA account so that you can get into it. But this doesn't start until the 14th, okay? But you need to order the book that you decide you want to use. And that gives you plenty of time to get it in. Either of these work really well. I'm not saying you have to choose one or the other, but they're there. And what we've done down here, this section is just giving you some context as to why we chose those particular books. And there's some references up here to those articles. So we just went ahead and shared the APA citations for you on those. So hopefully this has been somewhat helpful. And I will go in and create another one for LA5. And it's possible we will have some overviews of the lesson plans and just kind of how to think through and create those things. So let us know if you have questions. Otherwise, enjoy it.